Let's see how using the least common multiple can help us to find the least common denominator and compare two fractions with unlike denominators. So let's first take a look at 3/4 and 1/6. Now, if I were being asked to add these or subtract these or even compare these, it would be really helpful if my denominators, or the number on the bottom of the fraction, would be the same number, because then we know that the whole is split into the same number of pieces and it's easier to compare. So what you can do to make this easier is find the least common multiple of 4 and 6. You can make a grid, or maybe you already know what the least common multiple is. But I know that 2 is a factor of both 4 and 6. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. And I also know that 2 and 3 are relatively prime, so I'm finished. According to the grid method, to find the least common multiple, I can do 2 times 2 times 3, which is the same as 4 times 3, or 12. So my least common denominator is 12. So now I'm going to use my giant 1 method and my least common multiple of 12 to create two fractions equivalent to 3/4 and 1/6 that have the same denominator. I'll start with 3/4. So I know that 3/4 times a giant 1 is going to equal a number over my least common denominator, which is 12. Well, remember that any fraction over with the same numerator and denominator is equivalent to 1, and any number times 1 is equivalent to itself. So we're going to take a look and see 4 times what number gives me 12. Well, I know 4 times 3 is 12, so my giant 1 is going to have to be 3/3. 3/3 because that's the same as 1. Then we can just multiply across. 3 times 3 is 9. So 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12. I'm going to do the same with 1/6. 1/6 times a giant 1 is going to equal a fraction over 12. So I ask myself, 6 times what is 12? And I know 6 times 2 is 12, so my giant 1 will be 2/2. Again, 2/2 is equivalent to 1, and any number times 1 is equivalent to itself. So 1 times 2 is 2. So now I've turned my fractions 3/4 and 1/6 into equivalent fractions with the same denominator, and I can easily compare them to know that 9/12 is greater than 2/12. I could also easily now add or subtract them.